What's up, guys? Age Legend back here again. Welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be taking a look at Peter Benchley's The Beast, 1996 direct-to-TV movie. This movie was aired in 1996. I remember watching it when I was a kid. It was a two-parter, two-part movie, and for the most part, I like it. It's pretty good. I like the cast. I like the practical effects of this movie. The CGI in this movie is really, really bad. Then again, this is a 1996 TV movie, so the effects are not going to be bad. Are not going to be good. They're going to be questionable. Very questionable. And there are certain CG scenes that are extremely questionable when you look back at it now from a 2018 perspective. Now, the whole plot of The Beast is basically this. Take the plot of Jaws, swap out a shark, put in a squid, and you got the Beast. Change some of the characters around here and there, but it's basically the same movie. You know, the character Whip, he is our Chief Brody. Unlike Brody, Whip is not a cop. He's a fisherman in a small town trying to get by. He's a widower. He has a teenage daughter who is trying to save up to go to college. So, and you know, he ain't the most complex character in the movie, but William Peterson does a solid performance and a good job at pretty much helming this thing as its lead guy. I've always been a William Peterson fan. I always thought he was grossly underrated. The Beast was the first thing I ever saw him in, and since then I've been a fan of his work, and I have been a fan since. And I like his performance in The Beast for the most part. There are certain lines of dialogue that he has, and his delivery is just really weird with them. But for the most part, he puts on a solid job. Charles Martin Smith is in this movie also. He plays Skylar Graves, who is our Larry Vaughn. But unlike Larry Vaughn, who has a mutual respect with Chief Brody, Skylar Graves is pretty much the most hated man in the community. He pretty much wants to turn a fishing community into a more modern community by building condominiums and stuff like that, and bringing in outsiders to do something like that. And this is a small town, so the townspeople, they're not really all in his plans of what they got planned for their little community of fishermen. But I like the character, and I like Martin's performance. You know, he plays him as a Weasley type of guy, and I like the antagonistic relationship he has with Peterson. I think they work really well off one another. So that's that. We got Ronald Guttman in this movie, who plays Herbert Talley. Herbert Talley's our Richard Dreyfuss of the piece, and as a character, he's just there. The performance is good, but the character really non-existent. He's just there to spout out exposition. He's there to tell us the answers to whatever questions Whip will have. He's pretty much our answer man. He has a couple of scenes here and there. I do like the burgeoning, friendship between him and Whip, I guess you can call it that. It's like a mutual thing. I like some of the conversations they have, especially there's this nice little conversation they have where Herbert tells, where Talley tells Whip a story about how he saw a dog attack a man who had previously attacked that dog's owner years prior, when describing the squid and how they can be very protective, and they can harbor memories or stuff like that. So I like that little exchange. That was okay in and of itself. I like the character of Mike, who is Whip's best friend. I think he's a pretty good character. I like his story about how he's in debt and how he's trying to save face by saying that he's not in debt when clearly he is in debt. And I like how he reluctantly joins a rogue expedition to try and kill the Beast. So I like all that, and I also like the relationship he has with Peterson. I thought they worked really well off one another. Larry Drake is in this movie. He plays Lucas Coven, who's the town drunk, and Larry Drake is a phenomenal character actor, and he was hilarious in this movie. There are a lot of parts he's in. There are a lot of scenes where I just can't help but laugh because Larry Drake just plays such a slimy, I don't want to stand next to you type of guy in this movie. Such a filthy guy in this movie, but he's good performance, really good performance. I like how he takes out these two surfer punks out, and he just pretty much just bashes them while they're taking forever. He's like, punks. He says stuff like punks. He says calls them debutantes. It's just funny stuff. And I also like the antagonistic relationship he has with, because Lucas is trap fishing, and that's breaking the rules, and Rip is a more by the book type of guy, and of course he has a problem with something like that. So I like all that. All that stuff is good. I like how, and I also like the CD relationship he has with Graves, how those two like pretty much work together to like kill the squid and stuff like that. So that stuff is okay too. Again, I like some of the action. I like some of the scene. I like some of the squid scenes in this movie are pretty good. The opening is straight out of Jaws. Well, not shot for shot out of Jaws, but heavily inspired by Jaws. You don't see the squid that often in the movie. If anything, you see shadows of it, and you see it through like you see the squid also, and while it's in the water, you see it through like the murkiness of the camera with the water in there. So like you can almost see it, but then you can't see it. For the most part, the practical effects of the squid, they look pretty good, really good. I dare say fairly decent, especially when you get to near the end, where you get like a good close up of it, and it really looks pretty decent. You know, they did a good job at building a good, practical giant squid. I like how there's some scenes here where they use a lot of miniatures, and it looks really, really cool. It's always cool to see miniatures be used in movies when you can't do stuff in CGI. It just enhances it, makes it look so much better. Of course, this movie does a lot of soundstage work, and it looks pretty damn good, especially when you got some of the night scenes. I think they come across as looking pretty good itself. So yeah, for the most part, this movie is, it's fairly entertaining. It's decent. No, it ain't the greatest thing you'll ever see. It has a lot of problems. There's some acting problems. There's some problems with the acting the acting can be very touch and go with a lot of characters. The story. Now, this movie was meant to be watched as a two-parter, because when you watch it all together as one, it's not the most exciting movie you'll ever see. It can be kind of boring in a lot of places. It does drag on until it gets to the midway point of the movie, where it picks up a little bit of steam. But for that most part, it does drag its feet a lot, and it does more of establishing like the characters and what they got to deal with when the squid comes and disrupts their little town. So yeah, I think pacing issues. It does have pacing issues, and again, I'm reviewing this thing, watching it as a whole. If you watch this thing the way it was meant to be watched, was as a two-parter, those issues, you can forgive them. But when you watch them together, it's a full complete movie. Trim some of this, trim some of that, tighten that a little bit, tighten this a little bit, or rework that a little bit, and this thing could have been better than what it was. Now, if this thing was released in theaters with a big budget, this would have been a good action romp. But it's made for TV, so you get what you get. And what you get is like I said, a fairly underrated movie. It's good, it's decent. The actors do a good job for the most. Do a good job. The direction is fine. The cinematography is not too bad. The writing, like I said, for the most part, it's okay. Other parts, it could do some fixing. The effects work for me. And overall, if you have not seen this movie, give it a watch. Try and see if you can. Try and go out of your way to try and find this thing. I'm pretty sure you can find it on YouTube or something like that. Because this movie is, like I said, it's a very underrated movie, and it deserves to get a little bit more recognition than it really does. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Peter Benchley's The Beast. Overall, I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's enjoyable. Like I said, fix the problems, and this thing could be at least an 8. Tops. Because, again, it ain't the most exciting thing in the world, and it really is a Jaws knockoff. But anyway, those are my feelings on The Beast. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll check you back next time for more.